Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Narcotics News. In this episode, we're joined by very special guests, Training Director Jennifer Crilly and Captain Over Training, James Leone. We're very excited to talk about our training division at OBN, as well as Red Ribbon Week, which is happening this month. So we can go ahead and get started.
Thanks for having us.
Well, yeah, I guess if you all want to talk a little bit about your history at OBN, how did you come to OBN, and your career progression, that'd be great.
My name is Jennifer Crilly, and I'm the training director at OBN. I have a degree in industrial engineering.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I came to OBN as more like a tech type person in training. My goal was to create an on-demand training program and to help get the training unit back into the 21st century.
Yeah.
By automating a lot of our things and doing online registrations and creating QR codes for our CLEAT rosters and things like that.
That's really cool. I knew you were working on that project, but I didn't realize that it was like a long-term goal for you. That's really awesome.
My name's James Leone. I've been a police officer now for a little over 30 years and started with the police department and was a patrolman, then a detective, and moved over to district attorney's office as a drug task force officer, and then came on with OBN in 2005. So I have just a little over 19 years with OBN, and pretty much my entire career with OBN was spent in enforcement divisions until here recently. Within the last year, I had the opportunity to transfer over and take over and supervise our training division, which has really been a goal of mine for quite a long time.
That's awesome.
I teach a lot of classes at OBN and to outside law enforcement, and always had a passion for doing that. And so was just waiting for the right opportunity for that supervisory slot to come open in the training division, and fortunately it did, and I was able to transfer over there. So I'm very excited and happy to be there now.
That's really awesome. I didn't actually know that about either of you. So it's really cool to learn.
Yeah.
So I'm Makayla McGee. I'm the training specialist. I started with OBN in 2020. I've been with OBN for 4 years. I started off in the registration department for my first 2. It was pretty cool. I liked it. And then after a while, I kind of was ready for something different. So once the training specialist position opened up, I hopped on it and applied. Thankfully, I got it. So I basically do drug education. I go to different schools, talk about drug awareness, so on and so forth, whatever they pretty much want me to talk about to the kids. And I make it fun, despite the kids thinking I'm their age. But it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, so fun fact, as you may know, I'm also a training specialist, but at OBN we have different divisions. So I'm actually a training specialist for P&P and registration department. So I'm actually under a different division. But yeah, so for people who might not know much about OBN's, what we offer for our trainings, what classes do we actually offer at OBN?
Well, so our training division has a variety of different training programs that we put out, not only internally, but to all law enforcement across the state. And I'll go into kind of the law enforcement training side of it. But we have that. We have community awareness programs, specialized workshops that I'll let Jennifer speak about on those two. But as far as the law enforcement training, it's focused on drug enforcement techniques, investigative skills, and legal updates.
That's cool.
And it's drug enforcement itself it's kind of a unique animal within the law enforcement community because we're specialized and focused just on narcotics type enforcement. So along with that comes a lot of specialized training on top of just your regular law enforcement training. So to me, it's very specialized and unique in that way. And so we do those things not only internally, like I said, but to law enforcement officers across the state and even nationally on different events. So And then I can let Jennifer speak about the community awareness program and specialized workshops that we also put out.
Yeah, so we do have a community awareness program, which Makayla is mostly our face of this. We educate the public about substance abuse and prevention and human trafficking. Right now, we have put out postcards to all of the schools in the state. I'm sure Makayla is probably wants to kill me because of that. But we have been receiving tons of requests to go out to schools and talk to them about drugs and human trafficking and what we do. In addition to that, we also have Mark Woodward, our PIO, who goes out into the public and talks to like civic groups and like OG&E and public groups about drug awareness and human trafficking. And then we do specialized workshops. So we again cover topics such as drug identification, human trafficking, but we also do workshops for our civilian employees. Right now, we're in the middle of doing quite a bit of training for our
Analysts.
the analysts.
Oh, nice.
So so it's not just law enforcement that we train, but we train our own people and the analysts that we're training. We just got finished with the training last week for analysts that included, I think, analysts from 3 or 4 different states. So
Wow.
They came into Oklahoma, into our building, and learned what they needed to learn to do their jobs. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And also just having more perspectives from other states too, of course. Like you have that kind of interstate connection, I suppose, through the training. So that's really awesome. And if someone were to want to request a training for the department, how would they do that exactly?
on our website, if you Google search or whatever you use to search, go to Bureau of Narcotics, Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, then you can go to our training page. And at the top of our training page, there is a link to a form that you can fill out to request training. Now, that form is mostly just for law enforcement training. I believe that there's a separate form that they can use to request the public awareness and public speaking engagements.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know exactly where it's officially found, but I know you can go to the how do I do like etc. function. There's a tab on there for how do I do, and it has a question on it, and there's one that's how do I request presentation. So you can do it that way too for drug education and PMP and human trafficking mainly.
Yeah, and they go straight to our PIO, Mark Woodward, and then he distributes them from there.
Yeah, so you mentioned our PIO, and then I mentioned before that we have, Makayla in training, and I'm under PMP and registration. So what is the relationship like between training and other departments at OBN? Because obviously people have different expertises, so you might have people who need to train a certain topic that actually aren't within training. So how does that work for the division itself?
It's a very good relationship with training and all the divisions within OBN. And, we do a lot of in-service training each year. And then, of course, we put those announcements out. Jennifer will put those out for any OBN agent or civilian if it's civilian-based training. And everyone has that opportunity, bureau-wide to attend that training. And then we do a lot of, and I kind of touched on this earlier, a lot of specialized training to kind of answer your question. We will either put together training or sometimes we'll even seek out outside training instructors that might deal specifically, say, with like human trafficking type investigations or heroin investigations. We get that specific and detailed to try and tailor to each division within OBN.
Well, I suppose you mentioned your on-demand system already, but are there any other changes coming up for training division that's really exciting and kind of future goals you're working towards?
Like I said, I've been at OBN a long time, and our training, we've always had a training division for the 19 plus years that I've been there. And back in the day, it would consist of usually a supervisor and maybe one agent,
one
instructor. Yeah. And so that has gradually built over the years, but especially probably within the last 2 to 3 years, that division or our division has really grown to the point where I think we're at 9 people. And we need that because our agency has grown. We've hired a lot more additional agents, civilians, analysts, and therefore the training division, it had to grow. And that was kind of a goal anyway, is to expand it. And like I said, get certain instructors. So we have, within our training division, we have certain instructors that are very specific on what they teach. Like we have one agent that teaches nothing but firearms classes. We have another one that teaches defensive tactics. I myself specialize in like tactics and search warrant, SWAT type training. So we have a vast array of people in our division that have specialized areas that they teach. So that's how we've expanded, and I think it's really, really worked well for us so far. And we could always use a few more people in our division. So I'm always fighting and pulling for that, and hopefully we'll get some more people in our division. But it's came a long ways, and there was nothing wrong with it back in the day either. There's just more demand for it now. So since July 1 of this year, we've already put on 185 training events. Wow. That's touched about 3,000 attendees or law enforcement officers. In addition to that, we've done about 15 of the outreach events, and that's touched about 11,000 people throughout the state. So we're pretty proud of that, and that's kind of how we roll every year. So we're very, very busy, and we we take a lot of pride in it, just because we know not only are we educating the public and helping that, but we're hopefully saving officers' lives. And I have no doubt that that's occurred. I can't go into too much detail, but we had a outside law enforcement officer that attended one of our firearms training events recently. And some of that training that he received there actually saved his life in a very violent encounter with a suspect. And he reached out to us and basically said that our training saved his life that night. So that makes us feel good and makes it worth it to us too, because we've always known that, but when you hear it, it's something special.
Well, and I think we can't talk about our specialized training without talking about our canine trainer, right? So we have a nationally recognized canine trainer that is on our unit that trains, new dogs. He trains people all over the United States and probably outside of the United States, I would imagine at this point.
Yeah. He certifies them, and he teaches usually 3 to 5 times a week, almost every day of the week. He's out there somewhere across the state teaching the canine handlers. So
that's the man right there.
Well, and OBN has a very extensive history too with canine trainings, correct? It's like, I think that it was.
Have you interviewed Cindy Cunningham yet?
No, I have not. I read her bio though that Mark gave me.
Yeah, she was heavily involved with canine and with OBN as far as the history of canine handlers and canine teams and stuff.
So one of the projects that I'm working on is an on-demand system where we are going to have online learning, and we're going to open it up to all law enforcement agencies in Oklahoma, not in the United States, but in Oklahoma. Well, I mean, if people from other states want to watch it, they may. However, we're not going to apply for continuing education credits for other states. But the on-demand system, like I said, is going to be available to all law enforcement within the state of Oklahoma. Everything that's posted there is going to have CLEAT accreditation. They will be able to earn their continuing education credits online, so they can watch, a video in their PJs at home.
Oh, I bet that's nice.
We love that.
Yeah. And, law enforcement, they usually work strange and interesting shifts. Mm-hmm. So when you have a night shift person, instead of making them stay up 24 hours to go to a live training, they can go home, go to sleep, do their training when they wake up before they go to their next shift, right? So that's what we're working on there. What we're currently doing right now is we need to be able to find trainers who are willing to be on camera, who have topics that can translate into video. that's been the biggest struggle for me, at least right now, to find
Yes.
somebody that is willing to be in front of a camera and have a topic that is translatable into a video.
I'll say most folks don't want to do just audio, so I totally understand that that's
Yeah.
probably going to be a harder thing to do
Yeah.
to get someone on video for sure. But yeah, I think the on-demand is really cool, and it's actually something I mentioned to my supervisor, I think just last week. But I'm hoping mine will probably be more informal, but I'm hoping to do like a question about PNP registration like once every 2 weeks or something, like a 2-minute thing to just put on the YouTube that people can access, because as you mentioned with law enforcement, a lot of medical professionals don't have like routine schedules either. So it's really hard to reach them with any sort of specified time and date.
Mhm.
So it'd be a cool way for them to be able to watch like a 2-minute thing that answers a question they send in. So I think that's a really good idea to have some sort of system where they can view it when they have time, because it's just really hard to find time with most schedules.
We are working on updating our curriculum based on emerging drug trends and our policy shifts. We've had a lot of policy shifts happen recently, especially in the medical marijuana field.
Well, some of the ways that we tailor our training is based off of drug trends that the analyst will pick up on. Our watch center that's housed at our headquarters. So they'll look at those drug trends and get that information based off of agents' investigations and what they're seeing out there, and so we get that information either from supervisors of these other enforcement divisions or our diversion division, and from the analysts, and then that kind of leads us or directs us on what type of training we need to be focusing on for that year or that time frame, and it allows us to start building and constructing new classes if something new is out there and we don't have a training class for that. That allows us to start building that class where we can start teaching that to our agents and people across the state.
I write like the public bureaucrat newsletter. You might have seen it in passing. Currently, it's mainly social media stuff that we've already put out. But one thing I'm hoping to possibly do in the future is like drug trends that can be publicized. So I think that it'd be nice to possibly work towards that. I'll be really interested to see about the future trainings hold and like if there's any kind of possible crossover for that, because I would love for people who read the newsletter to have something to take away with them. Not only, of course, OBN does a lot of great events, right? But not only the things that we show on our socials, but things that they can help with their families and that sort of thing.
Right.
So
It's the ultimate goal.
Right. Absolutely.
And I do want to add one thing as far as our recent changes and kind of what we're looking at doing moving forward is we have an internship program, and we're wanting to basically do some outreach to universities and colleges, build that a little stronger, which will in turn build our internship. And we've had that for quite a while, but we just want to strengthen that a little bit more because we have hired a lot of our college interns over the years, either to be an agent or an analyst or a whole different array of jobs out there. So it's a good tool for recruiting and not only that, but to get these college students that are interested in majoring in some type of criminal justice to get that experience.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that. So how would someone apply for internships?
So we accept 2 interns a semester. And right now they are going basically through HR. I get a lot of those notifications through HR. Somebody will email and be like, I'm interested. We get a lot from UCO. We've
Yes,
been
absolutely.
working with them for a long time. We've just started to get some from OSU and OU.
Awesome.
We're not really sure how they know because we haven't really advertised. I guess through their advisor, they get our HR contact, and then HR sends a note to me. I do a pre-screening over the phone with them, and then from that pre-screening, they get a packet if they pass the pre-screening. and then have to go through the background check and everything that a regular employee would have to go through.
It's extensive, by the way.
Yes, very extensive. But like I said, only 2 per semester, and we might have our first summer semester this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do we ever publish any sort of qualifications that are required for people who want to apply, or is there like anything that they have to fulfill?
Not yet. It's still although it's been around for a long time, we are in the process right now of revamping it. So there's lots of things that need to be updated and fixed and changed, and we're working on that.
Yeah, but that's really cool. I've heard about the internship program. I haven't actually met any interns yet, but then again, I've only been here since January, so.
You have to be an active student. You have to be pursuing a degree in law enforcement of some sort of criminal justice or something like that. And you need to have your advisor's approval.
And I'm sure it counts for school credit.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We typically, if I had 2 applicants and one was doing an internship that counted toward their degree and one was doing an internship just because, I would always go for the person that is counting toward their degree, just because that's what our policy is and that's what we want to encourage.
Gotcha. Yeah, but that is really cool, and I'll be excited to meet whoever becomes the intern. What exactly do interns do for OBN? Like, what are their...
That's part of what we're revamping.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
We're revamping it because some of the things that OBN does, we just can't have a college intern out there when
Right.
there's like enforcement type actions taking place. It's dangerous, and it just wouldn't be safe potentially for the students. So we have to basically look at different things that they can do at our headquarters or within the office. But they will get an overview from each division, is one thing that's very important. We'll send them, for a day or a couple of days to each division within OBN so they can kind of shadow and hang out and get to learn, what that division specifically does. So when it's all said and done, they'll have a very good idea, a good overview of OBN as a whole and the function and the goals of OBN. So it's a lot of just being in the office, but it's a lot of cool stuff for college kids to see and to learn about. Yeah, they tend to have a good time.
So actually, when do they apply as well? Like, what is the time frame?
So right now we're getting applications for spring. In fact, we're almost getting a little too late.
Oh, well, for next year.
Yes. Yeah. So fall could be coming up. We could start in January. We'll probably start getting fall applications, just because the background check and the background process takes so long. So yeah, and the application itself is humongous. I mean, the application itself is going to take a week or 2 for the applicant to fill out and collect all things and get it back, and then yeah.
And do they go through the whole like polygraph and everything too?
Yes, they do.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, they get a background check where the background investigator does their thing and visits people you didn't even know you knew, and then they get the polygraph. And
I was glad though, because it turned out that I actually had a fine for a late tax that I didn't actually know existed. So that was nice to correct. It was very handy for those kind of things. So you mentioned before drug education, and of course a big part of that is Red Ribbon Week, which is coming up. It's October. So how exactly does that fit into OBN's history with education, and why is it so important for OBN?
So Red Ribbon Week is an important initiative, of course, that promotes drug awareness. So for OBN, it serves as a platform to educate the community about the risks associated with drug use, and it promotes a healthy lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. It also fosters community engagement. Makayla has been going out into these schools and talking to these kids and these parents and these teachers about drug education. And it helps, it keeps us out in the public eye, and it keeps us on people's minds. So they're thinking about, drug education, especially right now with the vaping and the medical marijuana just being so rampant out there. So as much as we can stay on people's minds and in front of their faces, I think it's better. And so that's what Red Ribbon Week helps us do.
But yeah, that is really cool. And it is interesting too, because of course, given the nature of OBN, it can be kind of hard to engage with the public just because a lot of it is so clandestine and so undercover, So it is interesting how much training becomes sort of like that public eye, because there's just, of course, we have our PIO and we do put out like news, but it's the main interaction that you kind of have with the public through training.
And having the Touch a Truck events, especially during Red Ribbon Week, where agents can actually go out and be there, and the kids can actually see this agent standing in front of them, and the parents can see, because sometimes the public doesn't necessarily love us, right? So if they can be out there and see a nice, friendly agent, which all of ours are, it helps. It helps our reputation.
Yes, and community relations.
Yeah, and just it's also great because the community can also learn about it, because I think people just don't really know what OBN does generally, or also just other law enforcement agencies. They kind of like have a mystique about them, so that's pretty impressive. But I don't know if you all have any last thoughts.
I don't.
Go Pokes.
Well, then I'll ask Makayla the last question. How excited are you for your next week of full trainings?
Starts tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be in Altus. Dreading the drive.
I'm so sad because I was going to drive with Makayla, and then I had a training request for PMP stuff, so I'm not able to go with you, and I'm sorry because the drive was long.
Yeah, I had to go past Red Ribbon Week, so right now I'm full until the end of November. Yeah. So
nice.
Keep them coming.
She goes, I'm gonna hit them out the park.
Yeah, keep them coming. Just not overlapping Christmas break though.
True. Yes.
Well, they have Christmas break too, so you don't have to worry about that.
Honestly, probably longer than we do, of course. So
true.
But well, then thanks so much to everyone who decided to listen in today to the episode, and we hope to see you, or we hope that you listen in next month.